They speak highly of me when I raise my voice. I gotta shoot a fucking free throw to make my point. My wittiness, leave them stuck in the wilderness. You'll need a backwood to roll to this joint.
What's happening there, everybody? We are going in today on a brand new Anime Syndicate review. We got my man Austin here today, putting the face to the voice, talking about the Broly movie, man. How you doing today?
Too good, man. How are you doing, T?
I'm doing great, man. I'm ready to freaking sit here and dissect this movie, my guy.
Let's do it. I'm ready. I'm psyched.
So, first question. Honestly, going to seeing this movie, it was everything that I dreamt it would be. In your words, was this the best DBZ movie that you have seen?
So, there's only I think 2 or 3 that I haven't actually seen. I would say, but out of, because man, I really liked Fusion Reborn with Janba.
Yeah.
Fucking a great villain.
Yeah.
But I would say cinematically, visually, and I really honestly I enjoyed the story, and it exceeded my expectations. I watched it a couple of days later after it came out, so everyone was hyped about it and hyping it up, saying go see it, go do it, go watch this. And I was like, man, I don't have the money right now. How's it gonna happen? Then my buddy Chris, he was like, dude, I got you a ticket. Don't worry, we're going to see it Saturday. I was like, what? Get in there. Blew my mind. Exceeded expectations. So that I would say, yeah. It to me, it was the best DVC movie I've ever seen, and it really brought out the child in me. I felt like I was 8 years old, just sitting back, in my chair, popcorn and Reese's, enjoying, what I never thought I could now. So that was, yeah, for sure.
There we go. All right. First and foremost, shout out to Chris for that, man. we
yeah, dude, that was huge. He was like, you know what? I got you. He's like, I'm doing it, man. That was awesome.
He came
so huge shout out there, dude.
Definitely. There we go. And then on top of that, I will say my biggest and only takeaway from the movie was the fact that I felt it was too short. That was the only thing. I felt that it was too short, only because of the fact that right. I mean, just like other people, I did not want it to end at all. I didn't want it to end.
Exactly right.
I felt that they drew us in by making the Saiyan's history a little short, just to leave more to interpretation of the viewers. But I mean,
right.
other than that, I had no qualms with it. I know a lot of people said that the final fight was a bit too flashy for them. It moved very fast, very quick pace. You had to stargaze back and forth. But I felt that was what a final fight of that magnitude should have been. That's what it should have been.
Yeah, I believe that 100%. That final fight, really sealed the deal and made that movie like what you were hoping, and probably that's what really overexceeded was the fight scene in general and what all went down. Like that is what overexceeded. I was just like, okay, this isn't. And they did have CGI parts in the movie, but they weren't weird. Like it felt right, and it felt really it looked really great. Like it wasn't bad CGI either, and it just worked well with the cinematic and what they were trying to do. So that was super cool in my opinion.
Yeah, I definitely back that up. It's a new genre and new age now, being able to see movies anime wise on the big screen, and it's pretty much life changing. Like it's something that a lot of people have been putting off, because little small movies have come out and people are like, oh, that'd be cool to go see, but now they're starting to actually come out with some heavy hitting movies that people are dying to go see. As far as the fight scenes that involved other characters, how did you feel about the fight between Vegeta and Broly?
Man, that was a heated exchange. I didn't expect Vegeta to really, or actually, I didn't know what Broly was gonna do. I didn't really think he was gonna go super animal instinct at first and just smash, you know, and he did. I think that took Vegeta really off guard at first, and then, man, it just didn't matter like what Vegeta do, powering up. He would get the upper hand. He would start whooping up on Broly, and then Broly would slowly learn back. And I was like, man, something's going on here.
Right.
I did notice, like, you know, when Vegeta first went Super Saiyan, the whole, like, green hair transformation thing. I kind of talked about it with you on the page.
Yeah.
There was a lot of, like, color transformations going on just throughout the whole movie. And I think they did that for badass, like, cinematic visual effects. But that could, to me, like I had my own theory. I think that could be, like, just because they were in the presence of the legendary Super Saiyan, they were feeding on, like, the same type of energy that he's giving off because he was able to harness those Ozaru powers so well.
Yeah.
So that would be cool if that somehow fit in and worked. But overall, the whole fight just between Vegeta and him, I think that's what gave Broly the upper edge when Goku stepped in, because Broly already just got his ass kicked by this Super Saiyan. Now this other Super Saiyan stepping in, he's like, no, not today.
Exactly.
So I think Vegeta didn't realize it, but he like trained. It was like looking back on it, it looked like Vegeta was training Broly and showing like what a Saiyan is and stuff while kicking his ass, and Broly's like, all right, and then so that's what I gained from their exchange.
I definitely do not disagree at all. Like, you know, that you put that thought and idea out there into the air. I really liked the whole aspect of how whenever everybody was, you know, transforming and they were going back and forth, that they might have been reacting to his Ozaru powers. Because, I mean, there's no other explanation that I would have for Goku admitting, you know, his green aura later on that we'll talk about, and then Vegeta sitting there and then like flashing green, because I mean that's never happened. And
right.
And
ever.
I was literally, you know, sitting there in the middle of everybody pretty much gassed just because of the fact that we finally got to see Vegeta in his Super Saiyan God form. And a lot of people told me in the manga that he was the one who perfected the transformation going back and forth from the regular Super Saiyan God to Super Saiyan God Blue. And it was just so crazy seeing him in a new light. Like whenever he transformed, it like the air in the theater just got it just got really just dense because of the fact that he's always so angry. And, you know, always like 100% like, I'm doing this. And it was like when he transformed, the look on his face was just like, I'm that guy. I'm the cheetah. Like, I'm here. Yeah. And I was just like, bro, like, what? And he just looked so calm, and like how he had the power under control. Yeah. It was crazy being able to see him like that. I'm definitely glad that, you know, Toriyama finally gave him his shine, because I talked about that. Yeah. Because that he's always the punching bag all the time. Every movie, every single movie. And it's always, you know, Goku coming in to save the day. Like, nah, not this time. Vegeta and him definitely switched roles. Vegeta was handling, you know, Broly. They definitely went back and had their exchanges or whatever, but I definitely give both rounds, or however many rounds that people want to say him and Broly went, Vegeta didn't lose. He definitely didn't.
Exactly.
He definitely didn't. Yeah, he definitely didn't. As far as Kakarot though, oh yeah, Goku took that. Goku got his cheeks clapped. He did. That was tough seeing, because of the fact that I know a lot of people were just like, bro, this doesn't happen to Goku. only other time, I mean, we saw him get smacked like that was, you know, of course in the new Super and the Jiren fight. I mean, but that's Jiren, and he handled him and he did work.
And in the manga for the Tournament of Power, Vegeta and Goku actually clash together and beat Jiren, and you get to see them work out. Mm-hmm. And so to see to be able to see them together and fight side by side like that, it was just kind of phenomenal in my opinion.
Yeah, because
Super.
Because everybody knows, you know, for the longest time, you know, Vegeta has always had that pride issue, and he'll rather, you know, take that L by himself than him try to have help from Goku,
Exactly.
of course. Exactly.
And then for him to be the one to run up and say, Goku, we need to fight together because this isn't going to happen, that was awesome. That was like, wow, he's come a long way.
Exactly. My thing, let's take a little step back and make sure that we talk about this new freaking technique that Goku busted out of nowhere. The God binding technique.
That was really cool.
What? Yeah, like, what? Bro, we were sitting there in the theater, and, you know, visuals, you know, they were all over the place, and then next thing you know, Broly and Goku exchanging, and then he takes a step back, and then just, bang, like, just stops him. And I'm sitting there like,
that was crazy.
And then of all people to do the technique though, it was Goku. And I was like, since when, you know, did he ever do a technique like that? Like, that's crazy.
I want to know where he learned that.
Yeah.
Like, when did that
transpire? Like, where did it come from? Yeah. That's I'm thinking that's obviously something that they had to pick up, you know, training with Whis. That I would see no other way that, you know, for that type of technique to come to fruition, and then especially for Goku to think of, you know, like, oh, I'm gonna make a technique that stops my enemy, like where they stand, you know.
Yeah, either Whis taught it or Goku just figured out how to do it to control his Kai around somebody else. And that would be an insane thing altogether. But for Broly to, in return, absorb that information and then do it back to him. And then he binded him with his Kai and just punched him. I was like, you can't catch a break. Goku did not catch a break in this one, man.
That right there leads into the next thing of how everybody was talking about. How do you feel about the power scaling of Broly as a whole? Because, like you said, I mean, even with the new technique, even fighting a Goku, you know, Super Saiyan God, and then fighting Vegeta Super Saiyan God, and then Goku, you know, tagging, going blue. And then him having a little exchange with Frieza later on, the durability and just the motor going back and forth with Broly, you know, relentlessly going after everybody, which he does. But it was crazy being able to see that.
Yeah. I was super skeptical. I didn't know how they were going to portray it necessarily. And the fact that they, in the Saiyan origin, they talked up Broly as like a kid so much. Like, his latent ability is so amazing. Like, you can actually just use him as a warrior. And then King Vegeta was like, no, fuck that. And they sent him to that planet. That planet's insane. That planet's inhospitable for any life. And the life that survives on it is a mutualistic, parasitic life that survive off each other. Which is also, like, stupid and insane to think about. Why would creatures ever do that? These things come around a crater to soak its blood, and that thing in return will eat 1, 2, 3 of them, and they just have to live like that. They're just gonna fuck it. Okay, one of us is gonna die while the rest of us get to eat. That's crazy. And then his father gets there 3 days later and fights. He's killed like fucking several of these things. That just blows my mind. But the way they brought it back and said he cut off his tail, but he was, being the legendary Super Saiyan, he was still able to harness, like, they didn't like say that, but I assume being the legendary Super Saiyan, he was still able to harness the power of the Ozaru's, which is why he could still go in that crazy ape form. So I like how they scaled him, because he had all this power that he just didn't know what to do with, and it really showed once like Gogeta came together, and you saw the just the fighting style of those two go against Broly. Broly couldn't handle it. He couldn't handle not well. The power, obviously, the power scaling was just incredible for Gogeta.
Yeah.
Like that was insane power. But just fighting style in general, he couldn't handle it. Like when Goku, would it be like Goku did get his ass kicked, but at times he would be able to just like toss him over and do stuff that he couldn't understand or do because martial arts inevitably will overpower just strength in general.
Exactly, and that was the biggest, I'll say, element of that entire movie that set him up. I won't say to fail, but to ultimately, you know, be able to lose because of that aspect. Like how you said, he grew up pretty much on a desolate planet where he had no business being, especially as a freaking child. But of course, they're Saiyans, and they you know, and with the aspect of, you know, how you said earlier with him being the quote unquote legendary Super Saiyan, but everybody knows he is. You know, they said the thing about Kale, you know, in their universe that she basically is. So in our universe where he's, you know, lives, he's our legendary Super Saiyan. And that basically transmits to the fact that power scaling and the other rules that other characters have don't, you know, hold a candle to what he's able to do. And he pretty much sat there and held his own versus everybody on straight brute strength alone. That is probably, you know, the biggest feat that anybody could accomplish, you know, other than like Jiren, of course, because of what we saw, you know, what we saw him do in the Tournament of Power. And then we could say that, you know, because of Jiren's training, you know, with his martial arts and being so determined, I mean, that's what ultimately had him beating Goku and everybody else. And then what brought along, you know, the Ultra Instinct, you know, Goku being on pretty much death's door. And with Broly not having, you know, that drive and that continuous training, just only training with, you know, his dad, which they said was like a mid-tier maybe warrior, and then fighting planetary insects. Like that's not going to do it for him. But it's still crazy to see the progress that he had, you know, on straight, just brute strength alone. When he fought against Gogeta, I knew, you know, just like everybody else, that from that moment on, like the movie was over. It was done and over with, because I mean, Gogeta by himself in base form, you could already see was the arrogance. They already knew that it was pretty much going to be over with, you know, regardless of how stupidly strong Broly has been throughout the whole movie. Broly tried his best. He did what he could, but, you know, once especially he turned Super Saiyan and then went blue, it was kind of just like overkill. Broly barely got any hits in. He got a couple, you know, after going back and watching the movie again, because I thought that straight up, you know, he didn't touch Gogeta, but when they ended up clashing off of their beam attacks, you know, and opening up the freaking pocket dimension hit. Broly got a few hits in after he powered up again, because that's what caused his armor to explode. And then I guess that was, you know, the pinnacle of his legendary power, like finally, you know, like rising to what it could be at this point in time. So,
right, you saw it. His hair went green.
Yeah,
like his hair actually, like that's when he went like his green legendary Super Saiyan form.
Yeah, it finally.
And that brings up like that dimension you brought up, because like so as soon as they did that and they broke through and you saw they went to that dimension, immediately what went through my mind was the Tournament of Power when Goku turned Master UI. Because there's that huge energy fluctuation. Goku disappeared, and then he was able to come back pretty much around the same point through the dimension.
Yeah.
I would imagine, because he clearly didn't just poof and die.
Yeah,
he went into another dimension, and I think there's where he found power.
Yeah.
And I think even each of them, even Gogeta and Broly, both gained a quite immense power when they went into this dimension that seemed to be filled with energy, like unlimited, like I don't know, like there was shit floated, like it was crazy. It was just crazy. They seemed to like get like immensely powerful, and then when they came back, you saw that it was Gogeta just ended it there pretty much.
Yeah, I definitely agree with that, because we've all had speculation and sitting there, going back and forth, talking about where did Goku exactly, disappear or run off to whenever he acquired said power, because everybody thought that he just disappeared, like, instantly. And then out of nowhere, he just flashed back, and then Ultra Instinct, and then it was pretty much just over with after that. So I'm surprised, but not surprised at the same time, that nobody else mentioned them disappearing. Maybe because Whis or Beers knew where they went. Maybe that they're accustomed to people disappearing into pocket dimensions now because of the Tournament of Power. So they didn't make such they didn't make such a big deal about it. But I'll definitely.
Well, you do hear Gogeta. He's like, "What the?"
Yeah. Where he was just like, what? Like, what's going on? Yeah, like, what's going on? That part right there was funny because I forgot where we were discussing it at. I don't know if we were talking about it on the page or like if I heard it somewhere, but I had heard or read somewhere that they said that part originally wasn't in the Japanese one. That they said that it was kind of like an extra part in the movie, and then that's basically like what they put, for the English version. So I definitely want to see, the other version, and then see what it is that they said for that part.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that would be interesting to gain more information from that.
Definitely, there's always difference in the translations and whatnot, and they had it like a month before we did. So.
Exactly. So we probably just filling in the holes as usual. Yeah. But moving on from that, as far as the aspect of character death from the movie, what did you think about Broly's character?
Clearly, like, there's like a lot of aspects Rush Sands, and I think Broly's character development was rushed, but I feel like something like they did with Dragon Ball Battle of the Gods and Resurrection of F, that they might go back and retouch and kind of expand it through episodes, a little episodic thing.
Yeah.
And but I think they gave us enough to go off of to really enjoy the movie and enjoy the story that they put out for him.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I wanted more to it. I like how he's not just a brute. He's just kind of like his father abused him and raised him that way. And he does show signs that he wants to know life and have friends and know what's more into than just fighting. Yeah,
than just fighting. And I'll definitely say, as everybody knows, if not now, with me being one of the biggest Broly fans, his most different, from the previous version of Broly is that he's definitely kind-hearted. Like he definitely sees the actual reasoning in life other than just wanting to destroy everything and find the guy named Kakarot that he's been wanting to fight since he was a baby. So I liked how, even though the exchange between Chilai and I can't remember the older orange alien's name. I can't remember, but whenever they were down inside the little rest area where they were, and they had took them pretty much like kidnapped them from Paragus and like took them away and stuff. And they were sitting there, and whenever they were going back and forth, like ragging on his dad, basically saying how he's abusing you and using you and stuff like that. And he basically, just responded with the fact of, like, you shouldn't say bad stuff, like, about my dad. And then that was, like, what? Like, the fact that he's, so strong, the fact that he pretty much has, like, his fate in his hands, and he's sitting here with the opportunity, knowing what his dad did, especially about, pretty much not killing or, but harming his friend, the alien bot that they were talking about that he pretty much like grew up with, and having so many negative things that he could pull from and degrade his dad with, and he's sitting here, you know, defending him like it's nothing, you know, like without even hesitation. So that shows, you know, a big freaking spatial difference between the last Broly and then this version of him. I'm definitely with you that I want to see how he progresses further along, you know, in the new series of Dragon Ball Super, whatever they will call it. Did you hear how they finally put numbers at the end of Vegeta's name? Like, Vegeta now is considered Vegeta the fourth, and his dad is Vegeta the third. I thought that was pretty cool that, you know, that they actually added that, because they've never once said that, you know, Vegeta is like, oh, the third Vegeta, or he's the fourth Vegeta. Right. And I was like, it was always either King Vegeta or Prince Vegeta. So I'm wondering, you know, if that is going to have any type of aspect, or maybe if that was like put there, you know, for a reason, because like for some, you know, like historical stuff that maybe we'll find out later on. But I thought that was a pretty cool little extra thing that they added into the movie. I thought that was cool.
Yeah, I like that one.
Let's see. I'll say the next thing. How did you feel about Goku at the very end basically telling Broly that he can call him Kakarot?
That was that made me laugh, because, like, you know, the old Broly always like yelled Kakarot and stuff like that. Exactly. And so I think that was kind of like just for a little throwback to that, you know, for just fans and stuff watching. But yeah, I think it was a way of just like, I mean, there's not a lot of Saiyans left, and they're the only ones. And it was just, I think it was a way of just keeping that Saiyan competition between all of them. Mm-hmm. Because throughout the whole movie, and it, like when they all locked eyes, even at the end of it, when Goku and Broly locked eyes again, it looked like they were just gonna fight right there. Yeah, like they're fighting spirits, yeah. And the competition just between Saiyans wanting to be the strongest, you know, just rose. And so I think because Vegeta calls him Kakarot. Mm-hmm. He wants another rival. Yeah, another rival. Who's a Saiyan to be the same. Yeah, I think that was super. I like that a lot. Yeah. I think it was a nice touch.
I definitely agree with it. That was a perfect ending to that movie, because everybody knows, you know, even from the beginning, whenever Raditz got there and it was like, yeah, like, your name's Kakarot, like, we're brothers, and he's like, no, my name's Goku. You know, he was pretty much putting off, you know, that whole Saiyan heritage that he just wanted to be an Earthling. But over the years, and then especially now with Broly being there, I really feel like he's starting to, you know, accept that Saiyan side of himself more. And I feel like that'll lead into, you know, them, if it goes that route, for them, you know, tapping into that Ozaru power. Because now that he's accepting the Saiyan side, you know, that now it'll be opening new doors, you know, for them. So,
right. Yeah. Right. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. That would be definitely a huge possibility.
Right. I definitely want to talk about some Easter eggs that appeared that I kind of figured they put into the movie. The first one was they finally mentioned Tarble. It was subtle, but they pretty much put Vegeta's brother in there and they mentioned him. Now it's weird how they did it, because everybody knows that Tarble, when we see him, is younger, and we figure out that Saiyans age very differently and very slowly. So seeing Tarble in that OVA of like Goku and his friends, whenever Vegeta, you know, finally saw they were face to face or whatever after so many years, and there was a drastic age difference like between them. Yeah, it was drastic. And I want to see how now, with Vegeta being, you know, like a fresh young Saiyan, but knowing that he has a brother that's already been born. So I wonder if now they're going to be closer in age whenever they choose to finally, you know, reveal him in a show or maybe like another movie that comes out.
Yeah, so, I mean, I never watched that OVA. I do know about Tartle. I've seen a little clip of it, meeting him and stuff. And like at the time, until right now you brought it up, it didn't even hit me. It's like age difference and stuff.
Yeah.
Like I'm not even thinking,
Yeah.
So, and then they mentioned them in the movie, but I'd have to watch it again. I don't remember if they mentioned him being on the planet when it exploded, possibly. But I would think if King Vegeta knew, I think Bardock wasn't the only one of the Saiyans that kind of knew what the fuck.
Yeah, that something was up, because we have like no idea now because of the fact that the story has changed, and that's why that I said at the very beginning and in talking to multiple people that even though that the beginning of the Saiyan history was rushed, the movie was all about Broly, so that's why it was the way that it was. That they didn't want to dive too, deep into why this person's here, why they were doing this. They just wanted to brush over it, change it a little bit, and then get into the Broly aspect of it. But I'll definitely say that now we have a lot more questions and a lot more things to think about and find out if they correlate because of the fact of the age difference and then where Tarble really is. And, if he still has his tail, or how strong that he would be, if he's going to be in, the new seasons of the Dragon Ball Z, universe and stuff. So that's definitely something to really think about. Other than that, for the first time, they actually mentioned in the movie that there's a multiverse. Piccolo sits there and, when Vegeta and Goku appear in front of him, he, says what in the multiverse is happening. Yeah, so I was like, what? That's the first time that they've actually talked about it. So I wonder now, since they've acknowledged it, that definitely means going forward that the rest of the universes are definitely, still a thing, and that it's all coming together, in that master plan that they're trying to do.
Yeah, that was a nice. I like that reference. It was a good laugh, and it made me think about Piccolo a little differently. I feel like they might be doing it more towards like a Kai type standpoint, because he is kind of like the overlooker of Earth now because he fused with Kami.
Yeah,
it makes me think Piccolo's gonna have like a little bigger of a role now, actually stepping up because of that.
Yeah.
Like the way they put him in there, the way they had him there for the fusion dance. I like how bossy he was over Vegeta and Goku doing the dance. It was kind of like a good reminiscence to him fathering over Trunks and
Goten. Yeah.
Goten. That was really cool.
That was dope. Yeah, that was definitely a reference going back and forth about how they messed up the angles and then their fingers were off point. Yeah, because they definitely went through the same thing, even though that their fathers, they still made the same mistakes. That was cool to see that. I think that one of the coolest throwbacks that you brought up along with Christopher is the fact that they had very, very cool moments when they ended up reverting back to their original kung fu stances. The fact that they actually, integrated that when they've gotten away from it for so long, I think that was really cool of them, to try to go back to their roots and then establish the fact that they're not just blindly, going in there and then just hitting each other back to back to back to back, without some form of technique.
If you haven't seen it, go see it.
Yeah.
Like that. Whether I think even like if you're not like huge into Dragon Ball Z, you would like the movie anyways, and it would interest you. One of my best friends, Tanner Ricks, went and like he didn't go watch it, he watched it off like free off internet, obviously Facebook, whatever, shared it, got away with it for the day, and he watched it and he loved the movie for not even being like he's not even a huge Dragon Ball Z fan.
Yeah.
He actually probably doesn't even, I don't even think he likes it that much for the simple fact, but he loved the movie. And because it does like a huge he loves One Piece, and it's like the artwork is really similar, and it's a wonderful animation just to go and enjoy. So that's that.
I agree.
On that.
I agree. Piggybacking off of that, man. This has concluded the video, man. If you have not joined and are not a part of the Anime Syndicate in the Village, what are you waiting for? You tripping? Go do that. Like right now, as we speak.
Right now.
Right
Go
now.
Do that. Go do that.
Y'all be easy, stay funky. Me and Austin, we out of here. Be easy.